Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the Oscars last week. I'm still recovering from all the whiplash that came with it. So why not dive into something new? Let's talk about the latest project from Bong Joon-ho. It's been a few years since Parasite won Best Picture, and that entire award season sweep was one of the most deserved wins in recent memory.
Bong Joon-ho!
Parasite.
Bong Joon-ho?
Parasite.
Thank you. I will drink until next morning. Thank you.
When it comes to Best Picture victories, Parasite absolutely takes the cake and is still one of those films that still holds up till this day. I vividly remember that season being a nail-biter, with 1917 taking home a lot of awards earlier on. But there was a shift in the air from both audiences and voters alike as they were captivated by Parasite. Of course, there was some controversy about whether international films should compete for the top prize. But do you remember that whole debacle? Let's not forget that basement dweller nerd who had a meltdown over Parasite winning over Joker for Best Picture.
So if Best Foreign Film is the equivalent to Best Picture for the foreign films, why is it then allowed to be nominated for Best Picture? Can someone explain that to me? We can sit there and say, well, just because it's foreign doesn't mean it's the best picture. That's fine. But out of everybody in the United States or the motherfucking America, how many people actually fucking seen Parasite? What is more important to our culture than the Joker? About a movie that talks about mental illness not being taken seriously. About how people in high places look down and frown upon the poor, the poverty, and people with mental illness. And how we need to take this more serious. But no, forget all these fucking social problems that Joker touched upon.
Yeah, that guy argued that Joker deserved Best Picture because it criticizes capitalism and the mental health industrial complex. The irony. Parasite did the same thing, but in a far more unconventional and unique type of way. If you know me, you know I found Joker to be one of the most unsubtle, self-indulgent take on mental health and capitalism. Plus, it's pretty much a beat-by-beat ripoff of Taxi Driver. But hey, that's not what this video is about. I won't go off on Joker too much, especially since the sequel is out of context in our current state of the world. But anyways, Bong Joon-ho deserves all the love and attention for his incredible filmography. In my eyes, he's never missed. Even Okja didn't dampen my admiration for his work. And that's why I'm so excited to check out his new film. This project has been in development for a really long time. Warner Bros. Quickly scooped it up after Parasite's success by, capitalizing it off of Bong Joon-ho's momentum with basically giving him a lot of creative freedom. They've been promoting it minimally and pushing it back since its release time multiple times. If you're not up to speed on Warner Brothers lately, let me just say this. David Zalav has a habit of writing off films as tax breaks, whether it signals a flop or not. We're lucky he didn't do that with this one, unlike, Batgirl, Scoob, Holiday Hunt, or Coyote versus Acme. I mean, listen, this isn't the first time Bong had to fight for his artistic vision. Remember when Harvey Weinstein tried to cut Snowpiercer in half because he thought it wouldn't resonate with American audiences? He even wanted to remove a scene where a train guard guts a fish to intimidate rebels. Harvey threw a fit, but Bong stood his own ground, saying, "Harvey, this shot means something to me. It's personal. My father was a fisherman, and I'm dedicating this to him." He explained how the scene connected to the emotions of his family and the sense of belonging. Harvey backed off, as he should, because, Bong is a master of his craft. But after the film came out, Bong admitted, "Yeah, that was a fucking lie. My father wasn't a fisherman." And you know what? Honestly, that's like a based move for Bong, and it's also a great Bong hit, in my opinion. With all that said, the box office performance of this new film is going to be very fascinating. If it flops, Warner Brothers will be in trouble again. They've been taking a lot of risks lately, green-lighting bold original projects from auteur filmmakers, and I want to give them credit for that. If this film underperforms, I don't want to hear anyone say Hollywood doesn't take any chances. They do. It's just like the audiences who often stick to familiar IP slop instead of supporting originality. You know what I mean? So let's not complain about originality being dead in Hollywood. It's there. You just have to put your money where your mouth is. Now let's break down the film's premise. Robert Pattinson plays an expendable employee who regenerates 17 times. The 18th iteration of his character breaks free and tries to sabotage his mission to save humanity. And that's just basically the gist of it. You have Robert Pattinson with like a really goofy accent, and it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, and it's a dark sci-fi comedy. I mean, listen, what else is to love about that concept alone? So, what did I really think of this film? Yeah, we're so back. We're definitely so back, baby. Oh man, this was like really good. Yeah, so Mickey 17, this was one of those movies that I anticipated it to be kind of, reflective of Bong Joon-ho's other films like Snowpiercer and Okja, and it's exactly that, but there's actually a little bit more details inside of the film that, of course, I can't really spoil because I don't want to, go into the spoiler territory, but I will say this. Robert Pattinson in this movie is really versatile in terms of his performance in this film. He's playing two characters, Mickey 17, which is the title character, and Mickey 18. And in the film, you start out with 17, who is at a point where he's dying a lot. He's at the 17th iteration of himself, and he's sent to this ice planet where he has to retrieve DNA and materials for these creatures called the Creepers. And he goes inside of the ice cave. He almost gets killed, but he gets spared by one of the bigger mother creepers. And that starts like the dilemma in his mind of trying to figure out why he was spared. Meanwhile, there's other things happening in between inside of the ship where you have Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette, who are two powerful political CEOs, CFOs, whatever the terminology is. They had this entire program of expendables dying multiple times, and it's a whole thing where this figure is trying to, keep the program alive. Mark Ruffalo plays his character kind of just like, a powerful figure usually is like, especially nowadays with, political figures. You already know what I mean. But you have that, and then you also have Toni Collette, who is basically feeding off the energy of Mark Ruffalo's performance. And then you also have Naomi Ackie, who is the romantic interest for Robert Pattinson and, of course, Mickey 17, the character, which I didn't expect it to be kind of a film that also deals with like romantic relationships in terms of using cloning technology. And it's really interesting because it plays a lot with like the ethics of cloning and regeneration and how it works in the current, futuristic landscape. And you have all that in mind, and you also have Bong Joon-ho, who plays a lot with deadpan humor, plays a lot with just like bleakness of the evils of capitalism, the stuff that I really like in, my sci-fi films. And you put all that into a mix, and it spits out like a really great original sci-fi film that is really needed in this current Hollywood landscape, especially since, right now there hasn't been a lot of movies coming out lately in the theaters. And I think this one really, really hits like the high points of what a sci-fi film should be. It should, ask questions about themes of technological advancements, ethics in terms of like mortality, and just like also, making fun of the stuff that is absurd in, these big Hollywood like sci-fi, swings. So again, I think this film is fucking great, man. Like, I got like everything that I personally wanted with, this film. And I'm coming from like a bias because I really like Bong Joon-ho as like a director, and he hasn't really missed for me personally. I did watch his debut, Barking Dogs Never Bite, just this week, and it's a good debut, but you can tell right away that it's, a trappings of a debut film should, feel like, when you direct a first-time movie. But after, Barking Dogs Never Bite, his filmography is just like straight fire. Mother, Memoirs of a Murderer, or yeah, that one. And then, you get Okja, Snowpiercer, And then Parasite, of course, which is a flip on a lot of things that he normally does with, his films in terms of criticizing the evils of capitalism. And then, you get to this film, and it's basically like everything that you personally want with, a Bong Joon-ho film. I do have a problem with like the middle section of the film where it starts to shift away from like satirical sci-fi themes and it turns into like a romantic film about 17 and 18 and Naomi Aki's character in between of the mix, trying to figure out how to, deal with the current state of Mickey's situation in terms of him finding out that he has an 18th iteration who is an anarchist and wants to burn everything down, which, by the way, I agree, because in this, current political landscape, we should just like burn shit down and like continue on and like rebuild as society in terms of, doing that. But that's just me. I was just like, yeah, man, Pookie, burn this motherfucker down.
Come on, Pookie, let's burn this motherfucker down. Pookie, let's burn this motherfucker down. Let's burn it.
Like, just burn it down. But then there's also moments where the 18th Mickey is making fun of the 17th Mickey, and then you start to question a lot of what Mickey 17 is really about, the character, and what 18th is about, and it's a clash, and I just love that shit. And then once it gets to like the third act where it starts to really, pin down what the movie is about and what, these creepers are about and how they operate in this like ice world that they are living in, that's when the film starts to really like close in and you start to kind of like understand what Bong Joon-ho is trying to do. And of course, again, I'm going to, reiterate, Bong Joon-ho, like his direction and his style of filmmaking is, very original, and it might not work for some people. I personally like his dark, deadpan humor with his English films. This is more in line with Okja in the second half, and then in the first half of the film, kind of like Snowpiercer with the world building. But even then, this whole film is just, it's fantastic. I had so much fun with it. I had, a lot of thoughts about, the morality and mortality of the situations these characters are like getting into. And I was left like really surprised by how the film ended. I won't spoil it here, but it ends in a very, very interesting and very cathartic experience. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I don't have any too much problems with this film aside from like the middle section kind of like dragging on in the beginning, but then it picks right back up. Robert Pattinson, fucking great. His Looney Tunes accent in this movie is really something to be, bewildered by, but it totally works with the film. And Mark Ruffalo as well, who's playing it up in a cartoonish way. Toni Collette as well. And Naomi Aki, who I'm really surprised. She's been like in the upcoming, sphere for a little bit, but I think since I've seen her in a lot of films, I'm starting to really enjoy a lot of her performances. And she's fucking great in this. Steven Yeun, which I didn't really mention a lot, he shows up. He's Mickey's friend. In the beginning of the film, Mickey and Steven Yeun's character, they're getting chased off of planet Earth because they owe a lot of money to these like gangsters, and it's a whole thing where they're just like, fuck it, like let's get out of like planet Earth and like apply to this program so we can, start a new life. And of course, this leads into the plot of the movie. But Steven Yeun he doesn't have a lot to do in the movie, but for what the stuff that he has to do, it's really great. And he kind of plays the same character he played in Okja, as kind of like an anarchist character who wants to like burn shit down and kind of like build everything back up as it was a long time ago. But yeah, man, this was just great. I give it a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I don't have too much to say about this film. I definitely recommend checking this film out in theaters because we need good sci-fi films, and it will send a message to everybody who really wants something, completely original and new. Even though this film is based on a book, I don't know if the novel deviates away from the film, but I've heard things that it does. But here, I think it totally works. But yeah, this was great. Definitely check this out. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out.